My camera over here, I guess, boss man. So, hey everybody, it's Dr. J with my buddy Cameron, and we're back for another episode of Flip the Script, SCRIP without the T. Been a minute, man, since we sat down and did one of these, but as far as y'all know, it's week to week. So we're going to jump into a topic that I get often in my practice, Cam, and you're a master at familiar with it anyway, and that is the intermittent fasting. I'll get patients ask me often, Doc, what's your opinion on intermittent fasting? And I find it interesting because like I write in that first book of mine, Light Your Fire, I think it's around page 135, I talk about the natural hygiene of the human body as it's created by our Creator, right? And that's why I say we'll talk about that. Because the body's natural cycle, and we're talking about intermittent fasting, right? We were talking about this the other day. What do we have? We have about 17 hours typically when you're not supposed to consume food, correct?
Yeah, in your book you put be done eating by 8 p.m. and then eat again at noon.
Yes, that's the way, of course, in the body's natural hygiene, exactly. We go through 3 stages in our body's natural daily rotation, which is the assimilation, the digestion, and the elimination phases. So if you think about that, again, we mentioned this before too. Digestion occurs primarily when the body's upright, okay? Because we have umpteen feet, 70-something feet of intestines. So therefore, we need the gravitational pull to help with the digestion, right? But before we go to that, let's talk about what the body does, all right? When we go to bed. When we go to bed at night, boom, now the parasympathetics kick in, and now we assimilate the food that we ate during the day, okay? This is the way the body naturally works. So that starts about bedtime, which for most people, think about 8 or 9, okay? The way it was designed, though, remember, we're designing thousands of years ago before there was a light bulb. So when it got dark, you went to bed. So this is the way the body naturally works.
Right. There was no microwaves back then or ovens.
Yes.
It was you eat at this time of the day when there's one meal with everybody.
You're
making the bread. You're making the meat. We're all coming together.
Okay.
We're gonna
you
eat.
got it. So that's the natural process. This is what's intermittent. What's interesting about intermittent fasting when my patients ask me this. This is the way the body works. So this is, like I say in my books, I like to keep it simple. All right. This is the simplicity of the body. So let's go back to that real quick. So what we do again, we have the time that we lay down, all right? This is when we're assimilating now because we don't want to be digesting now, right? Because we're laying horizontal, so we don't have the gravitational pull for the gut to help move the food through the body. So 8 o'clock till 4 in the morning is when the assimilation process takes, and everything that we're taking in, those nutrients, we're using them in our body now, all right? From 4 in the morning, the body goes through an elimination process until about noon. So in the perfect world, you're getting rid of all the food that you ate 12 hours earlier from the day before during this period. All right? So if we consume food like we tend to do in the Western world, a biscuit and some sausage from Mickey D's on the way into work in the morning, what do we do with our elimination process? Well, now we switch it off because now we've got to digest this food that we put in. So for most people, that's why we don't see the multiple bowel movements in a day, right? Certainly the best time to do that's in the morning. So that's from the 4 a.m. till about the noon time. So if you think about that, if we could avoid heavy food in the morning. Now, sometimes on a work day, all right, I'm going to have a smoothie in the morning before that noon time because I need that energy to run through my workday. But if I keep it to something like a smoothie liquid, my body doesn't have to work so hard to break down the food. And then another also option would be something like a high water content fruit, like a honeydew melon, cantaloupe, watermelon, something like this. It's also good for keeping the system working. But let's get into that next phase. And that next phase is that digestion phase at about noon. So if I'm intermittent fasting in the perfect world, and I need about 7-hour window for that food, and I usually like to stop at around 7 o'clock, so I'm looking at, 11 or 12 before I start consuming food, which is what most people do with intermittent fasting. You got it? So really, it's the way the body's supposed to work in the first place. So it shouldn't be one of those things that we look at like, hey, I'm going to come out of my norm, almost like a dieting thought in the head because in reality, if you can do that, you're also going to get into ketosis daily, right? Which is where we want to be for anti-aging, for releasing, of course, the enzyme we're talking about, AMP kinase, again, for the energy and for the anti-aging properties that that fasting gets us into. So what's sad but true is that the average American never gets into that phase during the day at all, right? So they never get into ketosis. The average person does, especially the obese and the overweight, because when are they spending 17, 15, like you said, more than 2 hours not eating, correct? All right, so they never get to that phase. Even a lot of people who are rather fit, right, seldom ever get into this phase, because when do they go?
Yeah, sometimes
more than 12 hours without eating in a day.
If they work out a lot, they probably never do, just because bodybuilders got to get in 6.
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman used to wake up in the middle of the night to eat.
Well, we all done that at times, right? That's protein, especially when you're eating consistently, like we talked about in the past. The blood sugar will drop if you are used to carving throughout the day, right? So he gets up in the middle of the night and has to put some protein in. And also too, these guys are trying to put on massive amounts of muscle. So that's outside the norm for sure. Right?
Yeah.
But that's the same thing we were talking about too. So when we go back to that podcast where we're talking about GLP-1s, right? The, what are they now? Manjaro and what's the other one?
There's a lot of them. There's Ozempic. There's...
Okay,
Wegovy, is that one, or is that a place that
Wegovy,
sells?
that's it.
Yeah.
And we talked about this just a couple of months, maybe a month or so ago. So these drugs are doing the same thing that when you eat this cycle that we're talking about, all right, there's no need for those drugs because you're doing the exact same thing. Number one, you're releasing that AMP kinase, right? All right. Number two, we talked about this. We release glucagon when we go into a stage of hypoglycemia, all right? Intermittent fasting does the same, and so does exercise, right? So here again, intermittent fasting, a great thing. If you feel the need to do that, absolutely, positively a great thing. If you could do that often, in the perfect world, you're going to be healthy, full of energy, because again, you fasted before, and after you get through that long fast that you did last time, after a couple 3 days, your energy went through the roof, did it not? Tell us a little bit about that, right?
I did. So my cousin's a wrestler, and when wrestling season ends, he always kind of goes on like a little binge because he stays at naturally he'd walk around probably at 140, but he wrestles at 126. So all of season he's eating and he's having to perform
just to maintain 140, huh?
I mean, he's having to work really hard to be at 126, and he's imagine having no energy because you're always in a deficit while running, wrestling, and all this. So when season ends, he's ready to eat. So he will go up and gain 10, 15 pounds, and he's like, okay, now I need to fast and try to get that back down now that I've splurged or whatever. So he did a 5-day, and I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times I wouldn't do it because I'm I don't want to lose muscle. You don't really lose muscle like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I did a 4-day. Yeah, and the last day of the 4-day, me and Braxton and Dad were cutting grass all day, and then that was good. But then I decided to do a 7-day, and that was 3-4 months ago. When was that?
Well, yeah, I would think you would know to the minute right now.
I don't know.
I
have it on my.
That's good though.
Phone.
It's in the past now.
Yeah, that's whatever.
Yeah, it was about 3 months.
So I did
ago.
a 7-day, and after
when you drag an ass through the day, yes.
On day 3, I think I had to play soccer with this team I coach. It's high school kids, so I played with them. Played with them again on the 4th day, and then played with them again on the 7th day. And
because you could, right? You hit a wall.
I hit a wall probably. I felt like my muscles just had no fuel whatsoever. But I felt better than most people thought I should. I will say that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I say what will happen is once I was eating again, I noticed that I felt like I had much more energy after that because I was used to functioning on no fuel just burning fat, all this stuff, and like it changed the way how I feel once I was eating again. Like it like I guess it gave me like perspective of what it's like to actually have no fuel or something. I don't know, but you do get really good mental clarity when you're doing it.
And you start burning those ketones, and you're going to find some sustained energy.
Yeah,
as well,
you feel
right?
real like just your energy levels are here. There's no up and down like the carb.
And that's
crash.
extreme. We don't ask a lot of people to go there, but again, you're talking about a great detox for the body.
That's why I did it.
resetting. Yes,
that
exactly.
and just personal
And
reasons.
the body has an opportunity to heal itself when it's in that point of ketosis as well. Very important thing here.
That's
right?
another. I heard somebody had an
So
Achilles
that's where
injury.
your longevity is.
They had a famous doctor was on a podcast, and she was talking about fasting, and she was saying how she had this Achilles tendon problem that she could not fix, rehab, all this stuff, PT, whatever, all this stuff, and she just noticed that she was going to try a fast. I'm going to just try it. And after like day 3, it started feeling better. She's like, okay, I'm going to keep going. She did 5 days, and it went away and never came back.
Well, think about animals in the wild. That's what they do. Whenever they get injured, and even even your domestic dog with an injury, they'll lay up and they won't eat because that energy they won't go towards healing and not towards digestion, which is interesting. Now, sometimes they may be injured to the degree that they can't hunt, but of course, when we're talking domestic dogs, that's not a problem here. But you'll find that when they're injured, they will tend to not consume the food that they normally will because they're naturally programmed, as we were at one time, to understand that the body needs this energy to heal itself. So that's the great thing about the intermittent fasting, which is why it increases the longevity, because it gives our body a chance to reset itself, including the mitochondria within our body, which are these guys are the ones that are overworking all the time. They're even working during digestion. So when we get a chance to do that. So because we're creatures of habit, why not just make that part of the lifestyle anyway? You and I are pretty good. Matter of fact, your dad was telling me today about how he's dropped, don't let me get it wrong, Chris, but it's 15 pounds, I do believe. 16. See,
17.
See, I had it. Okay, it was, yeah. So he's dropped another pound. So there we go. That was an hour ago. So, but here's the power of that, and again, he's consuming a light meal in the morning. I do a smoothie, like I said, and I'll start my solid food around 11 or 12. But I finish it by about 6 o'clock if I can. 7's a little late, right? It's just, and that's my routine. So it's just making it a routine. And of course, I'm not hungry. I was in the beginning when I first started this. And if you are, I tell my patients, get up, have some protein, have a piece of cheese. Protein or fat, not the carbohydrate. Otherwise, we'll go back into that glucose-related action and the cortisol spiking that we talked about when we talked about on the sleep video that we just finished. How we talked about how when people have the inability to stay asleep, we're usually looking at blood sugar. This will fix that problem. If you start living your life more towards what people know of as intermittent fasting, you will, through the process of habitual change, you will find yourself, that will be your new norm. And then you're getting ketosis every day, sleeping better also, and again, get healthy and fit will follow, right? So that's my little skinny on intermittent fasting. It's just our way of life. It's the way our Creator designed us to go through the day to clinically cleanse ourselves with proper hygiene through the body. And then we're doing that to ourselves at a cellular level. There's no need for GLP-1s and weight loss drugs because your system is running the way it was designed to. You want to add anything to that?
I feel better when I eat like that. I've never been
Don't you, though?
to the point to where I like to eat breakfast. I've always woken up to where if I try to eat, I'll just feel like nauseous. I just don't want to eat. In high school, because I always was on Adderall or some sort of ADHD medicine, and Mom knew I wouldn't really eat much at lunch, she would make me eat in the mornings, and it was super hard to get me to eat. I hated it, but I would try to because I was like super
sort of the way the
lean.
body works, right? Sort of the way. On the weekends, I'm the same way. I seldom eat before 10 or 11. So, when I'm at home and I don't have that need for that energy to go to work in the morning with, yes, I'm the same way.
Well, recently I've been going through the problem of I don't like eating in the morning, but every morning I have a protein shake and all my supplements. That's every morning. Mm-hmm. But then I know I need to eat at 12, but I'll get caught up doing something at work, and then all of a sudden it's 2 o'clock, and I'm like, well, now I'm about to go to the gym. I know I need fuel for the gym, but I can't eat right before the gym. It's like, and I end up getting on this thing to where it's like I end up getting all my calories in like right at night, and it's like, so I got
Yeah,
so
I've been
I've been having to meal prep differently. I've had to, going to Trader Joe's,
That's
getting
right.
the meals, I ordered a bunch of Tupperware, and it's like, look, I'm just gonna have to start meal prepping. I don't want to meal prep. 'Cause I'm lazy.
I do it. I do it.
But I'm
year round. Usually, I do it on
Yeah.
the weekends, right? So it makes it easier for me
Right.
to know what I'm doing and when. But yes, you
I've
might
been doing-
find that
turkey meatballs. That's a new find I found at Trader Joe's. Their turkey meatballs really good, and some of that one of those
Trader
sauces,
Joe's does a great job of making stuff easier on us because it's some good stuff.
They have some
pre-prep,
good, healthy
and
stuff there,
Basically,
man.
it takes 2 or 3 minutes to consume it, right? So I mean, there's a simplicity. But also with this, if you get into this lifestyle, especially my patients, I have so many people have issues with constipation. And this is one of the major causes of it because we don't allow the body its time to heal itself, and we don't give it time to go through its natural process of elimination. Once you start putting food into your body, you go into digestion mode, all right? And the body needs to be upright working against gravity during this particular time. But if you start that digestion mode early and you knock that elimination mode out first thing in the morning, this is why some people think it's normal to go days, and sometimes weeks without a movement. And that is just like I said, if you're not moving daily, you got a gut problem. So, good stuff. Want to add anything on before we tell the peeps to make sure you hit that, what is that? That chime.
Yeah,
Shout
like
out
and
to us.
subscribe.
And also, too, now we were talking
Topic
earlier about the
suggestions.
products that we talk about here.
Yeah,
All
I
right?
put a link for your portal to your standard process portal because standard process is not something you can buy at Walmart. You can't even buy online. You have to go through a provider, and
That's what we
Yeah.
are providing. So through my portal gives you access to what I consider, again, some of the best supplements, which is why I use those. And again, I don't have any tie to them other than the fact that I use their products through, so there's no monetary gain that they provide to me for their product. Their product is just what I
Right.
have found over the last 30 years to be my favorite go-to.
Just
So with
for
that in
an
mind,
example, I use these super healthy energy drinks by Jocko Fuel, and I use their protein. I use all their stuff, and I had their magnesium, and Mom had standard processes magnesium. I would take Jocko Fuel's magnesium, and I wouldn't feel anything. And they're a good brand. They're my favorite brand. They're a clean brand, but even their magnesium, I was not feeling anything from it, right? And then I took the Easy Mag from Standard Process, and it's 4 capsules, right? I took 2, and I was like, whoa. Because you were telling me how you'll take 2, or however many you take, you'll take it, and then 15 minutes later you'll be watching TV, and you'll be like, oh, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, same exact thing. Actually, I had Dad take some, and he said the same thing. All of a sudden we're talking, he's like, I gotta go to bed.
well, that's the power.
That stuff is insane, and you don't feel groggy. You're ready to relax. And you said you were talking about the failing to calm and lack of magnesium. And I mean, I took that stuff and I was like, and so even like I put standard process in a whole nother category of like, because it's not really this like supplements like you think of supplements. People think of supplements like hydration powders and creatine and workout stuff. This is completely different. Like, tell them tell them about. I mean, they have a whole farm where they harvest their own organic
1,000-acre farm. And so listen, there are other good supplements, and this was kind of the awakening for me when I was up there at their farm a couple weeks ago. Is that this was brought up, and there are other great products, other great supplements out there, but this kind of hit home with me when I think about those other supplements. Yeah, they're good, but have you been to their farm? And I thought to myself, that's a good point. Where are these other companies? I mean, we know Standard Process. Standard Process is putting it in the soil all the way to the box for delivery, right? So we know exactly and we know the quality of that. So when you get back to that magnesium real quick before we close out, you got 20-something different plant-based forms of magnesium. Nobody else does that. Most other magnesiums are all just one particular magnesium brand of salt, a magnesium salt. So again, that's why it's kind of why I go where I go. And now it's available to our listeners.
Yeah, the link is in our
Okay.
the description of each episode we put out. And if you're watching one of the shorts, just go to our YouTube. You'll see it. But in the description of all of our long length full podcasts, it's in all of those now. But then also, if you open up a bottle of magnesium, it's all a cap. It's all a cap with like some white powder in it. Easy Mag is literally looks like. I don't even know how I would describe it to people. It looks like just smashed up grains. Because that's what it is.
Well, it's Swiss chard and it's Swiss chard and buckwheat and compressed, and you know it because you can feel the weight of this bottle, right?
I put it in my mouth. I put the magnesium in my mouth before literally last night. I put it in my mouth and I can't feel my water, so I filled up a cup with water. While it's in my mouth, I can start to taste the grains.
Food. Yeah, and the food.
Yeah.
And the food. That's the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with that one, because again, we're rolling into time, let me close it out. Remember my fellow carbons of curiosity. I like that one. All right. What are we? We're just a bunch of carbon. So, remember, stay consciously aware of your awareness of consciousness. And as always, till next time, have yourself a great day so that
You ain't missing one.
attaboy, brother. Appreciate it. Peace out.